So one of the most amazing experiences that I've ever had as a scientist in this field, I was in Siberia, north of the Arctic Circle, and we were there because of rumors of these incredibly well-preserved Ice Age specimens. I won't even use the word fossil because when people hear that, they think of bones that are in a matrix of hard rock, right? These were described to us as mummies, meaning they still had soft tissues, skin, flesh, fur. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know what we would be seeing. And it was a really long journey to get there. It was 24 hours by plane, and then another flight, and then a 6-hour boat ride, and then a couple hours of hiking. And we're just surrounded by trees as far as the eye can see. But this place that we were, the Belaya River region of eastern Siberia, had actually been more of an open tundra with little bits of trees here and there at the end of the last ice age. So the landscape had gone through a lot of changes. And everywhere we looked, we saw the signs of modern day climate change, right? Permafrost thawing, the rivers were really low, there was smoke from wildfires far away, it was unusually hot. And yet, coming up from beneath us, just popping up out of the ground everywhere we looked were bones. The leg bone of a woolly rhino, a tusk of a woolly mammoth, right? These remnants of this ancient ecosystem were everywhere to be seen. And so it was very exciting for me just because, normally you have to really look for fossils, right? We have to look for these specimens. And here you could just take a few steps and you would trip over something like, oh, there's a bison jaw, or here's a woolly mammoth femur or something. And so I was already pretty excited, but then I came up over this hill and we were at this excavation area and I saw something just sitting on the hill and the sun was just hitting it just perfectly. And so I could see it in really clear relief. And it was really obvious what it was. It was an elephant's foot. Right? It was a complete, like hacked off at the leg, right? I mean, which it sounds super gruesome. And then you realize I'm not in like the African savanna here. Like this is a woolly mammoth leg. And the foot itself still had skin, it had fur, it had toenails, you could see like the little foot pads. I mean, it looked, when you close your eyes, if you picture an elephant's foot, like add a little bit of fur, and that's what we're looking at here, right? And it was just this moment of, I had seen hundreds of bones in museum collections. I have worked on the ecosystems that mammoths lived in for my entire career, and yet it wasn't until that moment that mammoths really became real for me. I felt myself just tearing up just looking at this foot and realizing that these aren't just specimens, right? They were individuals, they were organisms that lived and breathed and died and felt fear and, had family bonds and explored their world and experienced it with all of their senses. And there's just something about the perfect nature of that foot that had been so well preserved in the permafrost that it still had all of its skin and its fat and everything else, and just was so immediately recognizable as an elephant's foot, that for me it was just this moment of recognition, that not only is this work important to me scientifically, and I believe it has value, but I also felt this incredible sense of responsibility to do right by this creature, to do right by this species that is no longer here, that has no advocates, right? It's a species that went extinct. And, due to some combination of climate change and hunting by humans. And it's too late for any of this work to help those mammoths, right? But it's not too late for that work to help other animals, like the elephant cousins, the survivors of the woolly mammoths. And there's just something that was really powerful and I felt very overcome by the sense that I never get to see my study system in person, right? I don't get to ride around on my ATV with the woolly mammoths and radio color the mammoth matriarchs and tag them and get a bunch of data about their diets. I have to reconstruct the ecosystems forensically in my mind's eye. I live in my imagination most of the time when I do this work. And that was just a moment where I felt like I can actually touch this animal. I can actually, this is as close to time travel as I will ever get.